now that you know how to open a blank document, now we're going to talk about what are the tools within a document. So now what we're looking at is I open up a blank document. I didn't title it. I usually don't do it till I guess start with maybe the first couple ideas or strokes or creations within it. So you can do it if you want beforehand, but the problem is once you create it, if you mess this up or want to get rid of it, it's not a pain to do. It's just, to me, an extra step. So I keep it untitled till I know I have something decent that I want to save to go through it. So I have my blank document. I have my timeline. I have my tools to the left, and I have what the properties of the tools are. So today we're going to talk about quickly is your brush tool, which is your classic brush, and then also your fluid brush. Now, the biggest thing you have to know with this is the classic brush is a very simple brush. It still goes, once I click on it, you have your colors. I can click on it. I can figure out what color I want. They have the numbers for it, but you have all the visuals here for what you want to do. You could do gradients, but that's a lot going into it. And I'll talk about, when I say a lot, when we talk about not just trying to animate, but when it comes to saving work within our classroom, like where is going to be too much or difficult to save. So we have to also think about storage when we do these projects. So you have your color, you have your shape of your brush. So a circle, a more tapered, lateral, or side to side, and more tapered vertical. And then you have angled with smooth, angled with sharp cuts, and the same with vertical or horizontal when it comes to rough cuts. And then you have also your sizes. And now it shows also your cursor here. That gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. I have a bad feel. Let me do I'm a blue person. Let me do blue. So, anyways, so we have this. We have smoothness. Now, smoothness can go through. So if I do less smooth, it doesn't really show up a whole lot. And some of these you'll see, it might be smooth, it might not be smooth. Now, if you want to go back, you can always go up to Edit and Undo. Now, here's where shortcuts are a good thing, where I can just undo, 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 undo. A shortcut for this is Command Z. I can just hold down Command and keep tapping Z until I get back to where I want to. So that's a good one when it comes to making any mistakes that you want to go back and change it. So going back to classic brush, very simple. I'm going to show you one thing before I go into the fluid brush. So let's say now it doesn't give a taper, but what does is this kind of shows it tapered. So let me do just this, some weird googly thing. Now I'm going to go to more of a maroon, magenta, I guess you say. And now going up to here. Now, these really don't matter other than the brush mode. I would say the brush mode is something you might want to play with, you might not. Paint normal is just paint normal. If I go over top of here, it goes over top. If I want to paint fills, it doesn't change anything for right now in the situation. There's one that I'm going to show you that will change. Paint inside. It does go inside it, behind, so that's kind of a weird one going in. But the one you want to go is a paint behind, which is going to do the same thing. So that's what you want to look at when you're going through this. If you are going through this, once you get comfortable with this, if you want to change up where the layers are, even on just one drawing as you're going through, that gives you that nice capability of going through it. So I'm going to go yellow. Let's see what inside does going through it. So what the inside does goes inside some of the lines. So you kind of have to play around with it to see. So if I do there, if I start here, if I start on the white, it goes to white. If I start at blue, it's going to stay on the blue. So it's kind of cool. If I start on the red, it will stay on the red. That one single one. So you have a lot of different lines here going through. It won't go from red to red. It will just go on whatever object I'm on at that point. So, but that one crossed over, so it's kind of odd. So, well, actually, no, it is disconnected with it. But, anyways, this is one where you can have a pretty cool look to it going through. Kind of a artistic look to this. So, let's go one more because I'm just excited to mess around with this. Paint fills. So that just goes on top. Nothing really happening there. Even though it's a fill. So we know normal. We know paint side goes on whatever object you're on inside, which is kind of cool. So if you want to do designs on your character, we can talk. We'll talk about this later going through creating your character. But it's a pretty neat thing to do. Going through it, so you can really make some really nice looks. So it's very user friendly. Paint selections, nothing there. Nope. So we'll mess around this as we go through our characters going through. But this is basic paintbrush. So I'm going to do Command Z and just get rid of all this. All right, so I'm back. Oh, sorry. So I'm back to 0. So now let's go with fluid brush. Okay, now fluid brush. Here's the issue with this. It's a good thing because it has a lot more choices. The bad thing is, now if you never know what your properties are, if I click on Windows, I can see what I'm looking at here. It shows all your properties check mark. Now it shows my document. It shows my tools, which is over here. I don't think I have anything more. Hold on a second. Nope, we're good. Oh, let's go to this. I'm looking at something real quick here, see if we can do advanced. No, I think we have everything I need. Sometimes I think your computers might. There we go, good enough. So your computers might come up with all the tools, and we'll talk about that as we go on if you're having trouble with that. But anyways, so let's go to fluid brush. You have all these different angles. Now the problem with this is it takes up a lot of space. So even though you have all this with roundness, with your taper as far as how it comes off, you know, I mean, it's beautiful, but you can see when you're drawing it that it has such a beautiful line to it. The problem with that is it's going to take up a lot of space because it's doing a lot more just create that one line in comparison to the classic brush. So you want to keep that in mind as you're going through. You know, say we have, I don't know, a minute worth of animation with 12 frames per second. That's 700. I was gonna say 1200, 720 frames. Which, if you're doing this on each frame, it's going to take up a lot of space because these are more artistic lines that are taking a lot more from the software to generate those lines, rather than just doing more of a basic with the brush itself. Let me go back and get rid of this. So this is just very simple, nice when it comes to the brush. When you talk about the fluid brush, there's a lot more involved in a good way, but at the same time, you don't want to create a character too much with this. If you create a character with just this brush, a very detailed character, it would take forever to render. And you know, once you add another frame, or if, like I said, if you're at a minute, or even probably 30 seconds with, you know, 360 frames, you're still looking at a lot of space being put on. We'll have to talk about that as we move on. You know, it's not as much of creating 10 minutes of animation, it's creating quality. So if it's 10 seconds of quality, that's still fine. So let me go through quickly. Let's go through this. It's a little weird. So let's go through, you know, changing your size. So I can make it really tiny, teeny tiny. Very small. Stabilizer, not a whole lot to that one. So you won't see a big difference as you're going through. Not really any difference there. The curve smoothness. So if I go like that, there's that. If I go all the way up, and you guys can play around with it as you go through it. Not a whole lot to it, you know what I mean? And this might be more of me than actual that. So maybe not. And like I said, it's really you playing around with it. Yeah, it's more the curvedness area, a little jagged. Go back. Let's see here, roundness. There has a really nice taper look to it, where it's inconsistent. Okay. If we go here, it's a little more consistent around, a little thicker. So there's that instability with it, which is nice. Let's see if that changes. Let's see if that changes with the roundness. And you can get good. I mean, once again, it's the beautiful look that right there, and you'll have to find out. You might be able to do really nice work with it when it comes to just the gorgeousness of the line. So it might not be a character; it might be lines behind the character. You never know. And here I'm going to do. Let's paint behind. Let's do blue, and it paints behind it. Oops, sorry. So right now, I mean, it definitely gives a better look. There you go. Now let's do paint inside. This might be hard to catch just because of the thinness of the line. So I did outside, I did the white. Now it stopped it there, which is kind of cool. See what that does. It caught it there for some reason. It didn't catch it there. I'm not sure why. So I'm going to do there. So I tried to stay on there, and it worked going through. Let's go start here. It might not catch these guys. It might. No, it didn't catch them. And it depends, once again, when there we go. So, yeah, it's a little harder to see when it comes to, yeah, you're not going to see in the blue. Yep, that happens. So, some nice quality. And these are things you just want to, you don't have to use. Let's go velocity. Tapered is just that really thin line going through as far as tapering off to a point. If I don't want tapered, let's change the size so you can see this a little better. Yeah, no taper. Kind of neat. Like I said, a little Picasso going there. Now I'm still going behind. Yeah, so I'm still, or paint selection, not behind. I'm still in the paint selection. So, so you get, you know, the whiteness, it must not be able to go through because of it, but the shapes of the object on top. But it does give a cool quality. Could this be a neat animation piece that is more abstract than anything else? Yes, it could be. It could be great. So these are options to think about when it comes to background. Maybe not as much character, or it could be character. There's always possibility. That's a great thing about digital animation, that you can always make all these different types of possibilities. Let's try angle. Switch it up. No, I did that. There's angle there. Can I do the same thing on there? Same thing. More of angle there. It's smoothest angle, so it gets a little more of a sharpness to it. And then the tapered. You know, I mean, it's beautiful. Just how you just see how it bleeds into it. But that bleeding takes up a lot of space. Velocity. Let's see if this. Well, that's kind of nice, huh? And once again, you have to play around with this. Let's see if the opposite goes that way. Looks like it has velocity when it comes to that thick and thin. Yeah, beautiful. And then the pressure there. Very light pressure, so very thin. So, and you know, when you go through it, then you figure out the definition. I mean, there's my Picasso. That's only on one frame. I didn't do anything with the layers, so we'll talk about the layers of frames when we get into animation piece, or before we do it, just get you up on that. So I'm going to Command Z, delete, delete, delete. So easy, so easy. Like I said, I could do it up. That's where I could do it up here. And let's just know where it is. See, it's undo because I went all the way back, so can't go through it. So anyways, that is your classic brush, and that is your fluid brush. If you don't have these, if we have an older system, I don't know until we start this, but if you don't have these, there's always a classic brush, and the other brush was not, I don't think fluid, was called something else, but we can tackle that when it comes. But they're all pretty much the same, even if it's an older version of Animate or even Flash, which is a couple years old. we can work around it. So that is really your brushes and to start as far as painting. All right.